So while I was in the course in Polytechnic and in the university, I used to go out, mix with people, nightclubs, the local pubs, drink there, mix with people. In course of mixing with people, I met this girl, Carol. The relationship started having any significance about September 1976, and by December we started living together. She moved into my flat. She was single at that time. So got married in 1979 in United Reformed Church, because my wife's wish was that she gets married in church. And although I was a Muslim, I did not object to it because I respected her wish. We got married. We applied to the Home Office that now I am married, I want to stay in this country as husband of a British wife. They carried out a series of interviews, and at the last interview, when they end up 2.5 years, and I and my wife was having a bit of trouble in our marriage, and we decided to live separately, but not permanently separately. We told the Home Office the exact state of our marriage, that we are living separately, but this is not permanent and no divorce. And on the basis of that interview, Home Office this time very quickly decided that marriage is over, and according to a particular section of 71 Immigration Act, Home Office got a discretionary power. If they believe the one of the marriage has broken down, then either they can let me stay in the country, irrespective of whatever state the marriage is, or they can refuse my application. And they decided to refuse my application and ask me to leave this country within another 3 weeks. That is how the actual deportation order came.
Brothers and sisters, you have come a long way. Some of you have traveled long way to come to Birmingham. And I will take this opportunity to appreciate the effort, the enthusiasm you have shown to be here today.
Well, I think a lot of people would have found it strange along the streets to see placards with Mohammed Idrish must stay, a NALGO campaign. And to actually associate what is the non-traditional side of a trade union's position alongside this was very important. The feelings on the day were interesting because it had been the results of many, many weeks hard campaigning throughout NALGO branches, but the thing we didn't want to lose sight of was to make sure we influenced not only the trade union movement but members of the public, and therefore it's necessary to identify trade unionists and members of the public as one supporting the defence campaign. And that's in fact, I believe on the day that was very important to achieve that, and I think we did. The actual motion in support of Mohammed Idrish arose as a result of our Dr. Bernardo's branch making a statement to the conference. Now that's interesting because that's one of our newest branches, and that therefore proves the, if you like, it sets aside that rule that people have, or that image of trade unions, that policies are generated from the top downwards. This came from a branch and went to the NALGO annual conference this year. Normally a national policy would be organised from the centre, and what was said very early on, and I think it was a very wise move, was to say, look, we have the organisation within the West Midland District, we have the person involved in the West Midland District, and therefore we'll devolve some organisational role to that district office. And we, in collaboration with the Defence Committee, organised the march and rally. One of the significant things about the march and the rally was seeing trade unionists marching alongside people who weren't members of their trade union, or indeed members of any trade union. And I think that represents a position of solidarity that the Mohammed Idrish Defence Campaign, if it hadn't been organised, if the march and rally hadn't been announced, that wouldn't have been reached. And I think that's very important from a position of making sure the campaign is a broad-based campaign. NALGO's always said in relation to public expenditure cuts, in relation to our attitude on things like racism, that you've got to go and be prepared to join with other organisations. You've got to extend beyond the town hall, you've got to extend beyond the hospital or whatever, and argue, debate and influence people on a much broader platform. And that, again, wasn't a stated objective, but it was very important that that was achieved. The process now is one of getting the headquarters structure also to carry on campaigning, but we will have a role in that, but it must be seen as a national campaign. That in itself involved, for the first time in this sort of issue, participating with groups that we hadn't met before.
Yes, because that's always been part of the camp. Right from the start, the campaign's had two emphases. One, to keep Mohammed here, obviously, because then to use that to build confidence in black workers to fight against deportations generally. But second, the emphasis has always been to take it into the trade union movement in order to raise the issue, as Laura was saying, about the question of racist laws generally.
The thing is that there are thousands of people being deported from Britain, black people being deported from Britain every year, and of the overwhelming majority of them simply go without a struggle. You know, they don't fight the states throwing them out of the country, throwing them out of work, throwing them away, breaking up families, etc. And Mohammed has decided to fight his deportation case and to bring up the whole case of state attack on black people in terms of deportation, etc.
That point when Mohammed went down to the NALGO conference and spent the whole week there fretting, pushing, arguing with representatives and delegates to try and get them to take on the case and trying to get them to take on the motion that we drafted, that was quite important. Mohammed managed to, against a lot of resistance actually, gain almost unanimous support at the conference, and that decision brought NALGO, in a big trade union, into the campaign that we've been organising over some period of time.
The reason NALGO is supporting the Mohammed Idrish campaign is just because it's another example of the kind of oppressive immigration laws that we have in this country. What we have every month, 250 people deported. Mohammed's case is an illustration, just one human illustration of what the campaign's really about. But it's also about NALGO taking its trade union responsibilities, extending those responsibilities. We have regularly marched around Birmingham, we've regularly marched up and down London in support of pay campaigns and so on and so forth. But to turn around and march against oppression and against immigration laws is consistent with NALGO policy. We hope that this campaign will be a launching pad for a much broader argument about the immigration issue. But now we're marching in support of Mohammed Idrish.